charm and clean booty is a thing of beauty.
Oh, I didn't even clap yet.
There's your clap.
Sorry about that. You okay?
It's a little loud there.
My bad.
You're a little loud. You're good?
Sorry about that.
No, we're
Good?
fine.
Okay.
We're good.
You know what is also... I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Something was a whole thing.
Oh, you know what else is a whole thing, Joseph?
What?
The season. Couldn't get it out. That was like series serpent. Season. The 5-season deal between Amazon and the Tolkien estate to make.
That's too much. It's not actually even Lord of the Rings.
No, it's really not. People are calling it the Lord of the Rings TV show, and I'm just like, it's not actually Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is a very specific time period that only takes place over about a year and a half.
It's nothing.
Compared to the grand scheme of things such as the Second Age, which is where this Tolkien-based show is supposed to take place.
Roughly, 3,144 year time span?
Yes.
Give or take.
3,441, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, 3,441.
Absolutely.
The longest age in Middle Earth's history, for one thing. So, what we're talking about today, Joseph, is, well, you know, but audience, we're talking about the possible, not possible, but, well, definitely not impossible to not happen at this point. Lord of the Rings, we're just going to call it that, Lord of the Rings TV show that Amazon is picking up. Pretty cool. Really interesting news. We haven't really... And the thing is, with, not saying the Tolkien estate is stingy, but, like... Tolkien's novels are some of... It's classic literature. So, they're very careful. That's why they've only trusted... That's why they've trusted Peter Jackson. Only Peter Jackson twice. So, nobody else really has been able to do anything with this. And there's a lot you can do in Tolkien's universe with stories and stuff. And it's not like Star Wars to where there's a galaxy far, far away. And even though all of this stuff happens on these few planets, you can make up a planet that exists somewhere in the Star Wars universe, make up characters, and write an entire Star Wars story off of that.
It's in the Outer Rim. You never heard of it.
Exactly.
Boom, you got it.
With Tolkien, everything's canon, everything's written. So they are very, and rightfully so, stingy towards...
And I approve of the Tolkien estate being stingy. I will be very interested in how they go about it with this Amazon series. Because the thing about Tolkien books and movies, I should say, is you have to find the balance between... Like, the thing with, like, the movies is they were, certainly not perfect, but they're generally good at following the books. Mm-hmm. And... while in general movies and shows have not really felt a need to do that, to be honest, and the Hobbit series certainly took a bit more leeway, it still drew from the appendices some and all that. I feel like Amazon needs to tread carefully because the Silmarillion, it's such a big period of time that it's covering. It's not very specific. And so the hard thing here is you have to create material. You want to create material, but you have to do so in a way that feels like it's a Lord of the Rings. It feels like Tolkien. Yeah, and a thing that goes with that is locations and characters and such. So right now, a location featured in this new series is going to be Numenor. Those of you who are not big into Tolkien lore, I could sit here and make a 3-hour podcast and I could talk to you about the history of literally like the world. And I would literally not be in it. It would be just him. Because you would leave before the end of it. I'd just be like, well, it's my bedtime. I have work tomorrow. But basically it is a very extensive history. Tolkien wrote out all of this stuff, and as I was saying with Numenor is basically the equivalent. Every time I hear Numenor, come to Numenor. So with Numenia, basically
Tolkien's equivalent to Atlantis.
Complete with Aquaman. I mean,
yes.
no.
And I mean, I guess I don't really know what to say as spoilers because everything's been written.
Nothing. Yeah, no, there's no real spoiler for the show.
Some of it for 100 years now.
That's crazy.
Okay, so Numenor is consumed by the sea, just like Atlantis. In case you didn't know what happened to Atlantis,
this is the sea.
Yes, it is consumed by the sea because the people of Numenor, who were the mightiest race of men to ever walk the earth, really kind of rebelled against the gods, thought they were all big and bad. They were rich, they were prosperous, but they thought they were just too good.
They were.
And most of them died. But out of Numenor, we find a good man. His name is Elendil, whose sword Aragorn wields.
I was gonna say, I know that name from somewhere.
Yep,
it's
and
Aragorn's sword.
That is, yes, this, well, it's known by a couple different names, but the sword of Elendil, it's the one that was ultimately broken, and then Isildur used that broken blade to cut the ring from Sauron's hand, which you see at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring.
That is in Lord of the Rings right there.
A cool scene that I wish we could see more of. Like, I love that opening couple minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's really cool.
Seeing Sauron all like, hi, I am more than an eye. I am a guy.
I'm more than an eye.
And you about to die.
He has a t-shirt that says, more than just an eye.
More than just an eye.
More than meets the eye.
More than meets the eye. It's brilliant.
He's a transformer.
Yep.
Anyway.
See? And you see the armored knight of Sauron. It turns into an eye. Like,
yeah.
It turns into the tower, and then the eye just ding. Right?
Before time began, there was the ring. That's historically inaccurate. But anyway, out of the destruction of Numenor, we get Elendil and his sons, Isildur and Anarion. And he dies in the War of the Last Alliance. Isildur lives, obviously takes the ring. He dies in the disaster of Gladden Fields, and then 2,500 years later, Gollum finds the ring. Boom. There you go.
Boom.
So
you don't even have to watch the show anymore. Nothing else.
Honestly, spoilers. There you go. So again, as you said, the Silmarillion details the major events that shaped Middle Earth. There is a section of Middle Earth that doesn't even exist anymore after the First Age because it was entirely destroyed.
Yes.
It was a land called Beleriand. And it was, again, entirely... The names are weird, and I try to pronounce it.
Beleriand. I'm sorry. I think about... did you ever watch Hoodwinked? There's a character where it's a bad guy, and the evil guy is just like, Draco! Drain. And he goes, Keith! And he's telling out orders. He says, Keith! Change your name. Dang it, it's not scary at all. It's the exact same thing that I get there. Like, what's the name again?
Beleriand.
It's like there's nothing. I feel like it's like some like overweight dwarves just chilling Beleriand. Like, oh, you want some meat in Beleriand? We got you. Like,
Beleriand steak and
Beleriand steak. Get some Beleriand steak here.
It does sound like something like the Renaissance Hotel in downtown Raleigh. Like it's
exactly.
Something very snooty.
Exactly.
But it was destroyed in the end of the First Age, and literally a piece of Middle Earth does not exist anymore. It's like if we pretty much lost, like if Texas and Mexico were just obliterated.
Don't say that.
That'd be terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Would not help political. Our
political system is just gone.
Not need that right now.
Oh my gosh.
But that's the equivalent. Like that's how big the landmass was, or maybe even like the entire United States just destroyed.
Boom.
Anyway, not gonna happen though. We're okay. We're safe.
We're okay, guys. We're okay.
But I say all that because that kind of builds into the Second Age. Obviously. Sauron is not the first Dark Lord, and this is all for basically context. Sauron's not the first Dark Lord of Middle-earth. He had a boss named Melkor, later known as Morgoth, and Sauron was just kind of like his number one lieutenant, like his brother.
Morgoth, again, being a name you would actually hear.
Yes.
Because they actually say it like Morgoth, if you're like in the...
Yeah, because it's
just like
such a disgusting name.
Morgoth.
Yeah. He was known as Morgoth after he rebelled against all of his other brother and sister gods. And anyway, I'm getting too deep into it. But again, it's what I was saying was going to happen.
This is the kind of all you need to know right here.
Yeah, it really is. So Sauron, at the end of the first age, Morgoth is cast through the door of night into the void. Basically, he's going to remain there for the rest of time. He's basically dead. That's what that means.
It's like in nerd speak, exiled and like Magic the Gathering. You don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm going too deep now.
I know about Magic the Gathering.
Yes. If you are playing the card game, you can either you destroy a card, it goes in the graveyard, but you can exile a card, and that's like the graveyard to the graveyard, and you're never getting it back.
Yeah, you're never.
That's
exactly what the same thing is.
Yep.
So he's not actually dead. He is just in the void. There's no escaping the void until, I believe it's called Dagor Dagorath. Man, I am a nerd. Dagor Dagorath, which is basically Tolkien's End of Times.
Yes.
Tolkien's Revelation.
Right, I was going to say, like, at the end of the millennial reign.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be released from the void, and he'll do battle with the peoples of Middle Earth. Anyway.
Man, this sounds like it was inspired by something.
Yeah, it's like he took the Bible and other piece of classic literature from Norse mythology, Greek mythology, and put it all together and made a story. Because
made a blender, and he didn't make the blender. He took a blender, just shoved it in, and just ding.
And the greatest piece of fantasy fiction ever made was created.
And a history book.
Which is the Silmarillion.
Yep.
But that's kind of some context. So at the end of the first age, all of that happens. The first Dark Lord is defeated. Sauron's kind of like, okay, well, what do I do now? He takes a different approach. And the second age, while the first age was only, I want to say, it wasn't even 600 years long. The first age, right? I said that?
Yes.
First age wasn't even 600 years long. The second age is 3,441 years long. A lot happens in there. You see really the rise of a resurgence of men, like in Numenor. Numenor is very prosperous.
Sorry, I'm gonna keep doing that.
And that kind of again leads into the fall of Numenor, which then leads into the war with Sauron that comes at the end of the second age that ends with Sauron's defeat. A lot happens in the second age. So there's so much you can take from in that second age, which is, I don't want to say, it's probably the best they can do. And that sounds bad, but there's so much crazy wizard crud happens in the first age.
It's a little too cerebral. It's a little too over the top.
It is very over the top.
Yeah.
It is literally, it is all good and all bad because I would love to see a Silmarillion movie, but holy cow, I don't know. I
don't know how you do it in a movie. You'd have to be a show.
What he describes in his books, I don't know if it can translate to special effects. I don't. Some of the things that happen, especially in the
opening, in the
opening, and also in that last battle of the first age, where Beleriand, an entire landmass, is just destroyed and sunken into the sea.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
You get miniatures, and you take the George Lucas approach, and you just take little firecrackers and it just goes. Oh no, Beleriand's gone. Oh no.
Mr. Bell.
Those were the minis speaking, by the way.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what that is. But that's a little bit of context as to what really is going on. In the second age, Sauron's really just kind of building up his prowess. While Morgoth just went out and destroyed stuff, Sauron's more of like your traveling businessman who's really, really evil.
Mm-hmm.
He befriends a lot of elves, and as you see at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, he talks about him dealing out the 9 rings. So he gets that's where the ring wraiths come into play. That's where they're born. He seduces a lot of people because before he turned evil under Morgoth's influence, he was a blacksmith.
Yep.
And he was a freaking good blacksmith.
Comes around, he's like, "Hey, I made a ring for you. You ought to try it on."
Literally imagine the middle school softball team that sells you evil popsicles.
No, it's like it's those chocolates. What chocolate brand is that they would always come around?
It's probably Nestle or something.
Yeah, it was some Nestle or Lindt or something that was always the fundraiser chocolate.
Yeah.
And so they just come around, they're like, "Here, try our chocolate," and you do, and then you're like, "Oh man, all I want is this chocolate."
And imagine that kid then conquers the entirety of Middle Earth, and you have to rebel against him. Anyway.
Imagine that when you bite the chocolate, you are now both incredibly powerful and also entirely subservient to the kid that gave you the chocolate.
That's actually
that's the story
what happened.
of.
That's why like Sauron's probably like my favorite villain ever because of how
he gives people chocolate.
He does give people. Entirety. That sounds like something Doofenshmirtz. They give people chocolate and Ador, give everybody cavities.
Give everybody cavities.
Give everybody in the tri-state area cavities.
All of Numenor shall have cavities.
Bury the platypus. Anyway, this is what this has gotten into. But yeah, Sauron was really, really smart. He made the rings, and he then, giving them out to everybody, made the One Ring to enslave them all. That's where this comes into play, and that's where we really see the Lord of the Rings storyline kick off, even though there's a 2,500 year gap.
Yeah.
So, because the events of Lord of the Rings take place in the tail end of the Third Age, which is in the year 3019, is when most all of that stuff takes place over the course of a year, and that's when the Third Age ends, obviously, with the defeat of Sauron and him being also punished to the void with the destruction of the One Ring. So again, the Second Age is really interesting because it's that build up. Mm-hmm. It's when we see what is it, Dol Guldur, like his Dol Guldur. It's mentioned in The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. It is Sauron's old dark fortress. We see the rise of that.
Okay, so it's like Sauron's like, hey bro, you come over to Dol Guldur. It's my old hangout.
Dol Guldur, bro.
Yeah.
Dol Guldur. It's not it's a lot better than what boss used to have, which is called a Tumno.
Tumno. Say no Tumno, man. Welcome to Dol Guldur. I'll get Wayne from Moria to get you some pizza. That's a throwback to a very old Flash animation. And then go ahead.
I like it.
Yes.
I like it. But yeah, there's a lot of, I've been rambling, I know, for about 18 minutes now, but like there's a lot that honestly, if you want to get into the show, you either have to be a Tolkien nerd already, or you have to like know what has come before it, because not a lot of stuff's going to make sense.
But you see, this is where I think it'll be very interesting to see how the show goes, because
will it even be about those characters?
Right. Will it be about that? Will they take a really small approach and say, we're literally creating everything? Or are they going to tie it to, my suspicion is they're going to tie it to one event in the Second Age. Might not be an important event. It will be a canon event, and they're going to tie it to that event
because everything is
right.
Everything canon events in Tolkien's universe affect they're global.
They all affect each other. So I think they're going to tie it to one event that happens, no matter whether it's Numenor falling or, Sauron's work in the rings or whatever, and they're going to shrink the scale to focus on their created characters. Have a couple of canon characters in there that are the driving points, but everything around it, I think they're going to build the rest themselves. And so I'm very curious to see how they take these concepts and translate them into their own stories.
It's a very good idea.
Yeah, too. And I am hesitant. I am nervous because you're touching some very, very powerful lore and touching some very, I had to use the word reverent, but material you need a reverence with.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's also, we talk about toxic Star Wars fans. Man, if you like mess with Tolkien stuff in the wrong way, Peter Jackson took Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy back in the early 2000s, really stuck by the books.
They did it there's a lot that they didn't do, but they stuck by about as good as you're ever going to get with a movie.
The story from Frodo acquiring the One Ring to its destruction, pretty down pat. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff in The Hobbit they went crazy with, and while I enjoy the Hobbit movies, I know it's not entirely canon.
They got some
flack for it. They really
definitely
did.
Caught some. There was definitely a split. The split. I feel like Tolkien fans are less loud than your average Star Wars fan.
They'll let you know, but they'll do it cordially.
Right. Well, and it's one of those that's it's much more like it's like a written letter of like, hello there. It's much more erudite, Hello there. We will no longer participate in your films. Thank you very much.
I disapprove of your use of this character.
And it's very serious, and it's very like, I don't like this.
But it's not like a Star Wars fan.
They've made their stay. They're not going to debate it. They're just, that's their statement, and there you go.
And they'll punish you with literature just like Tolkien did. It's not like a Star Wars fan who like holds a knife to your throat and it's like you
right. Everybody's got the like gun, knife, like everybody's Mexican standoff.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
rocket launcher.
Yeah. So it's not like that, and I'm glad. It is it's a much smaller, but much more. You know what? Let's agree to disagree, but at the same time,
There's just not even interaction, I feel like, between
Yeah.
people that are just completely chill with everything the movies do and the diehard book fans. They just choose not to interact because they know there's no point.
But if there has to be interaction, I will say it's never like, it's usually like let's hear this out. Let's hear this out. From a movie standpoint, The Hobbit is, for the most part, a pretty masterful piece of filmmaking. Because it is Peter Jackson. From like a canonical, from a standpoint of the books, bit messy. There's several characters in there that should not have been in there. Azog the Defiler.
And there's like the main thing with The Hobbit is that there's a lot of, because it's supposed to be a more magical time, they use that as an excuse to throw in this more CGI approach. And it made it, to me, I didn't like some of the more, I hate to say comical, but I mean that, and I don't mean that to say hilarious, but I mean like comic-like action, the over-the-top kind of over-scripted sequences that I feel like were a lot more common.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious what the tie this into, the Amazon thing. I'm curious how they produce their film. Are they going to try and aim for this more very grounded Peter Jackson-y, everything's real props kind of approach, or are they going to go for, because it's the second age and everything's all loosey-goosey, are they going to go for a much more like CGI fantasy and all that? So that's what my eye's on actually, is the setting and the theming.
Yeah, and
I'm very curious.
And I know like Peter Jackson did take some flack from the Tolkien estate. I think the Tolkien estate doesn't want Peter Jackson to do anything more with Tolkien's works.
I'm curious.
Because of The Hobbit, because there was a lot of stuff that did not belong in those movies. But it's also interesting. I know the Tolkien estate is not going to let you completely rewrite canon. And nobody is ever going to have enough money to buy Tolkien's works. It's never going to be a thing. Forget Bezos is worth nothing compared to what it would be for the Tolkien estate to go. So. Yes, unless everybody with the last name Tolkien just dies suddenly, that nobody was never going to buy those rights. They're being very
protective, and I'm glad.
No, yeah, and absolutely, I think there are some things, with Star Wars. I think it helped that Disney did buy it. But with some things like this that is solid literature, you don't need to get rid of that. You need to keep that under wraps. But at the same time, they're letting people like Amazon have their creative reign.
Right. So I think this is a huge jump in, a huge test in trust.
It definitely is. And I know that the Tolkien estate's not going to really let them like screw with it that much. But again, as you said, it's not fully documented what happens in the Second Age. So I think as long as they keep to canon the characters and locations, that this is going to be a pretty cool series, especially if it sticks with the 5-season commitment right now that they have.
It's a long dark.
That is. 3-season commitment right now is tough for any show because people are getting sicker of things over a shorter period of time, unless you hit it right on the head like Mandalorian. Stuff like that. That's just like, this hit all the right notes with everybody. We have to keep going. But as some side notes, I will say we have to forget about the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings stuff, because this is not going to be the same.
Right.
And if we go in with Peter Jackson expectations, we're going to be ultimately disappointed unless they do a really freaking good job and make it Peter Jackson-esque. But I kind of want something new. I kind of think that, go in with fresh expectations, do a little bit of homework, or listen to the first 18 minutes of this podcast again. Do a little bit of homework, read about what the Second Age of Middle Earth really was about, because there was a lot of peace, but it was a lot of devilish underwork by Sauron. So it's a very long but interesting part of Middle Earth's history, and I think that there's a lot that they can do with it. Again, just stick to canon since there is enough, more than enough, for you to build off of. Okay, what happened?
You don't have to mess with the canon to create your own thing here.
Yeah, something happened in the year 1000. You got to figure there's almost 3,500 years of history in the Second Age. Something could have happened in the year 1000. Mm-hmm. What about the year 2000? Mm-hmm. What was going on in the year 3000? There's plenty to mess with. They just got to be careful with it, and I think they will. I mean, I feel like the fact that they're still going with this, even though I'm pretty sure the Tolkien estate sat them down like Marlon Brando's Godfather and was like, if you screw this up, you're done.
You're gonna see some horse heads in your bed. Little. That's I can't.
Godfather, yeah.
That's I can't do a Godfather, unlike you.
Oh yeah, the whole.
If you screw this up for me and my family on the day that our canon is to be taken into a show.
You'll hear about it all the way from Numenor! Numenor will be felled!
I'm gonna bury you beneath the waves like Balerion, and you guarantee that. You remember that your family, your children, your children's children, I'll kill all of you.
Okay, the laugh transition out of the voice. Oh man. Whew. Well, I think this has been a very informative podcast, very fun podcast. I actually like this one a lot.
Yeah, it's good. There's a lot to unfold, and that's the cool thing about Tolkien's works, and that's why, I don't know what to expect out of this show.
No.
But I'm looking forward to it coming out.
I'm very excited to see the test footage, the early kind of, I want to see the theming, and I want to see sort of the, I guess, almost the rating. Like, I don't think they're going to go for that kind of horror kind of style, but to see where they fall in the line of, like, Game of Thrones to Witcher to Lord of the Rings itself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it is a streaming service, and they do have some leeway to get some edgier stuff, which I'm glad. And it's not like
there's balance.
The thing about Lord of the Rings is, there's a lot of violence, but it's relatively clean.
Right, and so that's where I want to see, like, I would love to see them take, use that leeway to get the accurate violence and all that, but it's never been a series, a world that's had that sort of Game of Thronesy, overly sexed and all. Like it's Aragorn, not that kind of world. So as long as they avoid that,
sleep with multiple women. In fact, he's a one woman kind of guy. Way to go, Aragorn. But like also like if they're in this show and somebody gets shot with an arrow and they go like that, like I'm like that's not Tolkien.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even a word.
If somebody just like yells an F-bomb, if I hear
it just doesn't. It won't feel like.
If I hear an orc go son of a bitch, like right. That's just gonna seem.
It's gonna be so weird.
So weird.
I would pause it and just go.
Like somebody gets their arm cut over, like, bruh, that hurt. I'm like, no, you cannot. The only time even cursing is really only mentioned a couple times, but it's not English curse words.
Right. No, there's no concept. There is, but it's not that sort of dialogue at all.
They've got to be careful with that as well, because I don't want them to like.
It just would feel so out of place if that's something like that.
I don't want them to like.
So Netflix as long as they can avoid kind of that, that kind of over modernization, avoid the desire to try and like directly compete, which there's no need to, with like the Game of Thrones style. Like I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think with what they've got right now, I am super excited. We really didn't get into the cast right now because I think that's still being developed.
Yeah, there's not really information on that.
There was some, like, Will Poulter was supposed to be part of it, but he had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts with something else. And so like they're still establishing this cast. He
went from Will Poulter to Will Poltergeist and just ghosted it.
Don't you mean necromanced?
Necromanced it. Yes. Sorry, that was like a raised dead. That was a raise on dead kind of. Okay.
It's weird because I can kind of pay attention to what you're doing here.
Oh, yes. The camera's back, y'all.
Yeah, the camera is back, but I can't. It's like weird seeing it here, and I can tell better what you're doing from here. It's weird. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I was looking forward to, dude. And we're probably not going to see this until 2021.
For sure. They're only just now starting filming.
Yeah, so at the earliest we're going to see this 2021, probably first season, and it's probably be late 2021 as well.
I think so.
2021 is looking, well, 2020 may be kind of a deadish year so far for films. 2021 is looking pretty great for films and TV.
We'll see what we get.
You know, congratulations to our boy Joaquin Phoenix for winning the Oscar for Best Leading Actor. Kind of no contest in my opinion.
He nailed it. He was something else.
But yeah, no, I actually watched the Oscars this past week.
Oh wow. I did not. I do not care about the Oscars.
I did. I just kind of wanted to see him win, and
That's
I was just
fair.
like, he did it.
Props to. I need to see Parasite so bad. Props to them for being
Man,
an international film winning. That is astounding. So props to them. I really need to see
absolutely. They Bong Joon-ho definitely he did something right.
Yeah, right.
Like that film has gotten so much praise. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
He seemed like a really genuine guy. The only thing
the whole meme of him just being like, I will drink all night now.
That's literally the only things he knew how to say were like, thank you, and I'm going to drink tonight. Like,
that's what he took the time
everything
to learn.
else was in Korean. Everything else was through a translator.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So it's good to see the Oscars maybe branching out and being a little more inclusive, because that usually was not a thing.
International films are dope.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but yeah, any final thoughts on the topic on hand?
No, not really. Just excited, and we'll probably put out a couple more updates on it. You know, maybe
once
do
we get some casting, get some whatever. You know, some news that's like a little bit more definitive.
Have some Tolkien talks in between now and then. So it's going to be a good, over a year until we probably see content. Definitely keep you guys posted on what's up. But yeah. Until next time, we will see you guys later. Check out our other videos, Joseph.
Yeah, we got some hot gameplays coming in. We got that FIFA Chronicles out there.
Mm-hmm. We got the Batman episode. We talk about the Batman 2021.
Yes,
Robert
we do. Yes, we
Pattinson's
do.
Screen Testers came out.
We got that. Dope. We got some gang beasts.
Absolutely.
We got so that's like some more gameplay stuff. We got more podcast stuff. We got plans for the future to keep on trying out new things. So
absolutely.
Keep it going, y'all. Keep your ears and your eyes and your clicking finger just tuned right here.
Whether you're left-handed or you're right-handed, one of those clicking fingers.
And I guess if you have like a trackpad, you could be left hand. That'd be kind of weird.
It's weird. I've tried it.
Just be. I'm left-handed. Use your right hand. It's weird to use your left hand for clicky things. It's not natural. Don't do it. Anyways,
yeah.
We will see y'all next time. You will see us next time, and we will see each other next time.
Yes, we will. All of those at the same time.
Numenor.
Balurian.
Morgoth. I love these names. I love Tolkien names.
Yeah, they're great.
Anyways, looking forward to it. I will see you then. We will see you then. And stay beautiful and all the other beautiful things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Metalcore. Sounds like a type of rock, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Do you want to join my metalcore band? We're still recording a
Yeah, man, stop. We got an alt band coming in. We're the Numenors.
That's actually a really cool name.
It does.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Numenors. We're kind of a little...
It's the Numenors versus the Lothlorians out here today. It's a beautiful day, high of 70 degrees and sunny.
This happens when we select the elf section in FIFA.
Yeah. There's psychiatry for that. It's called Elf Help.
Elf Help.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay. Bye.
Are we still rolling?
Bye.